Baby, I'm the gamble of your life. Why you always gotta think twice? We could go at it all night. Till the morning till you can't even go no more.
He looks, he lofts, left side, yes. Devontae's got it, touchdown on an over-the-shoulder grab in the corner of the north end zone, and the Packers take the lead. Here's the give, Aaron Jones to the end zone, touchdown, straight ahead run. Aaron Jones' second touchdown of the night. Snap to Russell Wilson, rushes on. Wilson is headed sack. It is Preston Smith with a huge play. Rodgers in the shotgun, takes the snap. Lofts it over the right side. Devontae over the shoulder catch. Out of bounds. Cross the 50. First down Green Bay, the 46-yard line of Seattle. That was huge. And that'll do it. The Green Bay Packers have advanced to the NFC Championship game.
Well, you know, you're pretty darn good at calling football games when somehow you're beloved by both Bears and Packers fans, and that is the case with Wayne Larrivee, the voice of the Green Bay Packers. Thanks for joining us, Wayne. How are you?
Good to be with you, Matt. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Let's start with kind of, prior to the season and what your first impressions were of Matt LaFleur and maybe how much, I don't know if changed or grown is the right word, over his first ever season as a head coach.
Well, you could tell he was organized. You could tell he was sharp. He was youthful coming in. The enthusiasm changed the locker room a little bit. And I think they've grown under Matt LaFleur. It's a different way of doing business for the Packers. They had to get used to that. There were some growing pains, but for the most part, I think he's done a tremendous job. You know, oftentimes when you change coaches in the NFL, you take 2 steps back before you ever take a step forward. That wasn't the case here.
Yeah, no doubt. And as someone who has seen all of Aaron Rodgers, is this still an Aaron Rodgers offense, or is it more of an Aaron Jones offense that's complemented by that passing attack?
Well, you know, they're 5-0 when Aaron has a passer rating over 100. When it's under 100, they're still 9-3. When it's under 90, they're still 5-2. When it's under 80, they're 3-1. So, you know, that gives you an indication that, you know, they found different ways to win. Their quarterback doesn't have to always deliver the goods. But I think at this time of year, and what we saw a week ago against Seattle was a quarterback who was spot on, especially in the key moments, and that's what he'll have to be this weekend in San Francisco.
I'll start with the Packers because you've been there for quite a while now. But let's even go back to maybe your time with the Bears. You saw Neil Anderson and Walter Payton. Where does Aaron Jones fit in? Is he the best back that's come through Green Bay since your time there? And what kind of back is he?
Well, Ahman Green's probably, you'd have to say he's the best because he's the all-time leading rusher in the franchise's history. Ahman Green back in the early 2000s, he was outstanding. And he had a power line. They ran a power type of running attack, that kind of thing. Aaron Jones is probably one of the more versatile backs we've seen here in quite some time. Dorsey Levens was a versatile back, but Aaron Jones is probably a little more talented, maybe a little quicker, maybe a little more speed, that type of thing. He's developed into a nice receiver, and he's excellent in space. So, you know, he's become, one of the weapons, he and Davante Adams, along with Aaron Rodgers, for this offense.
You know, any longtime broadcaster has an iconic call. So I'm gonna get this in here now because I want to make sure I get it in. You called Bulls games, so you know Ralph Lawler, just retired, longtime voice of the Clippers, and he used to scream bingo when the Clips made a huge three-pointer. But when an opposing team made one, he still said bingo, but it was very subdued. It was like 3 bingo. Have you ever handed out a dagger to an opponent, but a much less enthusiastic dagger?
No, never. we don't do that.
Daggers only for Green. I just wasn't sure. Daggers only for the Packers. All right. I was thinking about it because there was kind of a dagger in that game in Week 12. From what you saw, I mean, so uncharacteristic for this team all season to have a game like that. What do you think? Why did it go so badly in San Francisco on Week 12?
Well, they could not handle the speed and I think the talent level in the trenches both ways that night. They really struggled with the speed of the defensive front 7 for San Francisco. They couldn't get a handle on it. Brian Bulaga, the right tackle, went out with an injury early in that ball game. It didn't go well from there. The Packers really struggled on 3rd downs, as Aaron Rodgers talked about today. And that's something, you just can't get behind the sticks against a team like San Francisco. I think the team speed of the Niners was what really impressed all of us, how fast they are in all 3 levels of that defense. And that's what carried the day in the trenches especially.
You mentioned Mon Green, how that was a different offense. It was a power run game. What would you say about this bunch? You called the Super Bowl 45 championship squad. How does this team, I guess, kind of stack up and what their identity is versus some of these past Packer teams that you've seen?
Yeah, this is an interesting team because they do it a little bit differently. The Mike McCarthy teams always pretty much did it through the air. That was their identity. They were going to throw the football. This team is a little different in that, yeah, they're going to throw the football, and yes, Aaron Rodgers is still a quarterback. And by the way, he hasn't lost anything physically, but this team also finds different ways to win, and it's different almost every week. And people don't know how to handle that here. You know, it used to be that Aaron Rodgers had to play lights out, or Brett Favre had to play lights out for the Packers to win. And that's just not the case anymore, as I recited those numbers to you a few moments ago. So it's really hard to get a feel for what this team's identity is. I think their identity is they just find different ways to win.
You mentioned he hasn't lost anything physically, still the same player at quarterback, but some are suggesting that this Aaron Rodgers kind of reminds him a little bit of Tiger Woods in his return to the top. Just a softer, maybe less edge to him. We know that Aaron maybe has the biggest and longest lasting chip on his shoulder of any player to ever come into the NFL. But have you noticed a different disposition from him this season, or maybe in the last couple years?
You know, not really. I don't think so. There might be a little more urgency to him. He understands that he's on the back nine of his career, that type of thing. But to be honest with you, I haven't noticed a big difference at all in terms of his demeanor and the way he goes about his business or anything like that. But I think he does understand that in this offense and what they put into play here, he doesn't have to do the things that he did in the Mike McCarthy offense week after week for this team to win. I mean, they're on a 6-game winning streak, and quite frankly, he's only had one game where his passer rating was over 100.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can get a dagger out of you come Sunday in the NFC Championship game. We know you're busy. It's a busy time up there in Green Bay when the Packers are in the NFC Championship. So thanks for taking some time out with us, Wayne. We appreciate it.
Nice to be with you, Matt. Very nice to be with you.
Baby, in the gamble of your life, why you always gotta think twice? We could go at it all night, till the morning till you can't even go no more. You like it, don't even deny it.